Police in Western Australia surrounded a man that was screaming. He was begging for mercy at the police station. After repeatedly being tasered for a strip search, Kevin Spratt was tasered again and again, and they did it repeatedly 13 times while 9 cops watched. This is according to Patricia Trevor in 2010. She wrote to the New Scientist. This 2008 incident is only coming to attention after video of it was released last week by the State's Corruption and Crime Commission. That means is that for 2 years people didn't know about this, and it finally, surfaced the web via YouTube, whatever it was, and it was, like I said, 13 cops tasering one man. Why do you need so much cops just to get, sustain one man? It's ridiculous. You don't need that much. You have manpower. Today I'm going to try to persuade you why tasers are very dangerous, what its cause and effects can be, and how they can affect your health. And lastly, I will talk about what other alternatives there should be out there that should be used instead of tasers. First, I will talk about how they are very dangerous. There is a known risk of severe injury from impact projectiles, either from blunt force or hitting a sensitive part of the body. And this is according to David Hamden, and he wrote this in the New Scientist in 2009. And what that means is that if you get struck, like in, let's say, where it's going to hurt you because it's sensitive. If you get struck in your eye, it's going to hurt you because it's really sensitive. And what this is saying is that there should be other things that should be used, like batons. Batons, you could actually strike someone on the arm, you could hit them on the leg, you could do other things to subdue them. With the taser, it's you can't rely on it just to hit one point. If I shoot him right now, I don't know I'm going to hit him. So that's why I'm trying to persuade you guys that it's not, I don't think it's a safe weapon. You shouldn't use that weapon. And upon impact, its barbed electrodes penetrate the victim's skin, discharging a 20-second burst of electricity to, like New Scientist says in 2009, to distract, disorient, and entice the subject to grab the projectile. What that means is that when you get tasered, you automatically want to rip it off, but it's too hard because you automatically want to go to the fetal position. So it's tough for you to get away from that position because you're being, tasered with a 50,000 volt, weapon. So it's tough to get out of that. And since 2008, I'm sorry, 78 people have died. And this is according to Seattle Post in 2008. I don't have the authors for that, but it was in the newspaper actually. Think about it. Since 2000, we're in 2010. 78 people have died. They wouldn't have died if someone would have used just 3 officers or 4. You don't need a taser. You can use other things, batons, pepper spray. Pepper spray hasn't been known to cause other effects. Second, I'm going to talk about how there are several causes and effects and how they can affect your health. The taser administers an electrical charge that causes muscular dysfunction and temporarily incapacitates the subject. And this is according to Steve Poland, and he writes for the FBI Law Enforcement Bulletin, and this was published in 2005. It's tough for you to get tasered. I don't know if you guys have seen Jackass 3D. Can you get your hands? Anyone see it? Remember the part where they're going through the thing and they're like, dude, next thing for my works, what's my work now? Tasers. Dude, definitely, I've never been tasered. I don't want to be tasered, but just by seeing the movie, I don't want to get tasered. Simple as that. I would just rather get hit with the baton or something and literally get tasered. The barbed wire that delivers the electrical shock have to be removed by medical personnel at the hospital. There was an incident where this man was tasered and the electrodes were stuck to his skin so long that he actually died. And this is actually according to Nayaba Aride, and she works for the New York Astronaut News, and it was published in 2008. This man, I guess, was repeatedly tasered and tasered and tasered until he died. He couldn't handle too much electricity. So it comes to show us that they're not safe. I mean, there's not an ambulance at standby waiting for you to get tasered and so they can remove your electrodes. They're not. You have to call them. It takes a while for them to get there. With other things, with pepper spray, you could get pepper spray, just throw water on your eyes, and water's everywhere. You could just probably go outside and find it right now. Tasers can also increase the risk of heart failure, and this is actually according to Barry Mangus, and he wrote this in 2008 for the American Surgeon General newspaper, or actually a magazine. And studies have shown high risk of heart attack after being tasered, and this is according to Paul Marks, and he wrote this in 2009 in the New Scientist magazine. So another thing, it's not only can you get tasered and you can't move. It's after the prolonged effects are that you can't you probably get a heart attack, you probably get a stroke, and why should they use such a weapon that could cause long-term effects for you. You know, Alzheimer's. Who knows? You know what can happen. The studies aren't out there, but we do know that electricity going through your body is obviously not going to produce good effects in the long run. And lastly, I will talk about what other safer methods are out there that we can use, and why those should actually be being used as a primary method, not tasers. Taser International, which actually makes taser, is actually facing 49 lawsuits right now. So it comes to show you that batons are not being sued. It's tasers that are being sued, and all of them are for wrongful death. So, like I said earlier, I talked to you guys about one death, but there's 48 out there that haven't been reported, haven't been actually talked about as much. I just think that, honestly, tasers shouldn't be used, and if they are going to be used, they should be used as a last resort, because there's other things out there that we all know of. So I just think that tasers should not be used as a primary method of restraint. And this is according to New Scientist in 2006. They actually published, and the headline was actually called "People Are Dying Needlessly," and the whole article was actually about tasers and why there was a certain year, I think it was 2004, where 47 people died, and that was the majority. And that's when tasers were actually just, you know, they hit. They were in, and 47 people died, and that was the title of the article. So I think that says it all. That it's like they say, people are dying needlessly. There's no reason why they should be dying. Here's actually an article that I found, and it's a mother had a son, and his son was being tasered, and he ended up dying too. And it's sad because it's, you know, I never heard of a case where someone dies from a baton, you know, or petrified or whatever. But I mean, it's sad when you see that, like, let's say one of your, you know, loved ones got tasered and he died. Like, you know, she's going through like a lot of stuff. You know, why do you want your family to go through a lot of problems just because of a taser? Just because it's, you know, simply it can get, you know, switched out for like something else, or tear gas or something. In conclusion, today I tried to show you guys why tasers are dangerous, why their cause and effects are really bad for our health, and why there's other alternatives out there that should be being used at this time. In conclusion, I just think tasers are not being used to prevent injury, but they're actually trying to be used to comply with officers. And I just felt like that's unethical, and that shouldn't be going on, because, you know, officers are trained, and they should be able to handle themselves and restrain the subject. And if they're going back to the tasers, it just shows them that either our officers are not being trained right, or they're just picking some, you know, weak officers. Because we need strong men out there. And if there's guys out there that are trying to use tasers, like, come on, man, like, you should be able to, you know, this is what you live for. You get paid for this. You should be able to restrain anyone without, you know, anything, just by with your bare hands. Thank you.